Thanks for the introduction. So we're with ActiveNetwork, as Daryl kindly mentioned. I have a lot of experience working with the Ontario customer base. It's been a very long partnership, over 20 years, 25 years for some folks, and it's something that's really meaningful to me and to Active as a whole. As Daryl also mentioned, I've implemented close to 20 class customers, so I have a real unique understanding of what's really important to the Ontario class customer base. And for us, as we kind of start talking through this presentation today, we start talking about ActiveNet, which is our go-forward solution, and we start talking about the future. It's really important for us as an organization to help you guys understand how we're taking the needs of the class customer base, and we're really meeting those needs with our next generation platform, ActiveNet. A little bit about me real quick. I just want to throw this slide up. These are my kids. The reason they're up here is partially because they're very cute. But secondly, also, just to talk a little bit about participation and recreation. So we participate in our community, and we're active in our own special way within our community. So whether it's at the tree lighting ceremony in Oakville, or at the Falls, or at the Butterfly Conservatory, or at the Toronto Zoo, we all recreate extensively, and we're all active and we participate. The reason I bring this up is because every one of you has one single focus. Now, I was in a bunch of sessions yesterday with Daryl, which were fantastic sessions, and a lot of you guys are focused on customer service, delivering effective service to your constituents. But when you really distill it down, it all gets back to driving participation within your communities, enhancing wellness and things of that nature. So participation means a lot of different things to a lot of people. ActiveNet as a solution is designed from the ground up to really enable participation in your community. So I'm going to quickly play a numbers game before we start diving into the solution itself. Can someone tell me what these numbers mean? Sorry. Anybody? The flag might be a giveaway. Okay, so this refers, the 144 refers to the number of class customers that we have in Ontario today. The 30 refers to the number of ActiveNet customers that we have in Ontario today. Now that's an important point because a lot of folks might have a notion or a sense that ActiveNet's a new solution. It's actually been around for over 10 years and it's already being embraced by your sister municipalities in Ontario. And the 13 refers approximately to the 13 million residents that we touch in some way, shape, or form in Ontario today based on the customers that we serve. Okay, so the point here is that we've been in Ontario for a long time. We've developed a lot of important relationships here, and we're really committed to this province for now and for the long term. So let's introduce ActiveNet real quick. I've already talked about participation. ActiveNet was built primarily and fundamentally with the participant in mind. Okay, so it's a web-based platform, and it was built solely around the interaction between your organizations and your participants. So where traditionally it's a one-to-one relationship and you lose a lot of things in communication and outreach and getting people to come back to your facilities and engage them, ActiveNet was built with that in mind. So whether we're bundling marketing, we're bundling social media, we're making things more accessible from a mobile standpoint, we've taken all of those things into account when we talk about ActiveNet and how we engage our participants. Another note is that it is in fact cloud-powered, right? So this is a true browser-based application. There's no client-server technology in place at all whatsoever. It's not like we're taking client-server technology and throwing it into a hosting facility and making you connect through a VPN. This is true browser-based, web-based technology, which is really important, makes it accessible. Some other things that you're going to see as we go through the slides here is around data security and insights. We've made really big investments that I'll show you guys in our data centers, our Canadian data centers, and we've also made big investments in our dashboard and analytic tools to help drive meaningful measures and analytics for you guys that you can actually make decisions about your business around. And then finally, again, we'll get more into this as we move down with mobile and social. But it's an important point. I mean, a lot of folks here today are really worried about how do we engage our customers in the social platforms that they want to be communicated in, or the mobile devices that they want to communicate with us on. And so we've taken that into account in terms of our user design and the way that the solution is structured. So we've been serving, as I mentioned, Ontario and the rest of North America for over 25 years. This is an important slide primarily because it shows how Active and Class have been at the forefront of development in this sector through all that time. I mean, we were the first organization that brought Windows-based solutions to this sector, which allowed folks to get rid of paper registrations and take those registrations through a PC. We were then the first vendor in the late 90s to bring you guys online registration, so you can now take people away from the rec centers and let them register from home. In the last few years, we were the first vendor to go into the cloud. I mean, we did that right around the same time as big companies like Salesforce.com. So we've been in the cloud, delivering cloud-based services for over 10 years, which hopefully gives you guys some peace of mind that we know what we're doing. The other thing, about 2 or 3 years ago, again, the first vendor in this space to bundle social and mobile into our solution to meet the demands of what we knew was coming today, 2013 and beyond. And then finally, if we look into today, where are we leading the charge? What are we doing now that's going to be a game changer for your organizations? Well, one of those things is, and I already kind of alluded to it, is dashboard analytics. So we've taken the first step in developing analytics for your organizations that are real-time, that you can use to make better judgment calls about your business. So I think in Daryl's presentation yesterday, I think it was your analytics concurrent session, one of the topics that came up was, how do we measure? And then based on the measures that we have for our business and the objectives we're trying to achieve as a business, how do we take those data points and then make fundamental change in our business to improve the level of service, to engage our constituents, to improve our fill rates, to retain our members, to get people back through our facilities, to find lapsed people who haven't recreated with us in a year or 2 years and get them back into our community. I mean, those are all things that we're going to be driving for you guys through our tools in the coming weeks and months. So ActiveNet gives participation a platform. So again, it's a community recreation management solution designed for participants. And I want to just focus a little bit on the marketing piece. Again, when I said we built this with the participant in mind, I want to be clear as well, we built this with your staff in mind as well. So from a marketing standpoint and from a usability standpoint, it's important for us to deliver solutions to you that you can go into, and at the click of a couple of mouse clicks, you can say, look, I want to reach everyone who was registered in Jiu-Jitsu last year between the ages of 15 and 34, and I want to send them an email that's automated to go out 2 weeks from now that invites them to register for the new karate session, or whatever, right? The point is that we're giving you all of those bundled marketing tools within the application that are going to allow you to create these types of dynamic lists, to cross-sell, to upsell, and to really reach your community. And again, what that's doing is taking the recreation business side of the equation and the IT side of your equation. Right now, where you have a lot of kind of clashing of heads and trying to figure out how to make things work in class, it's all ready to go in ActiveNet. Okay, operationally, that's really going to help you guys out a lot. Again, operationally, because it's browser-based and because we've made a big investment in CRM tools, we give you a full 360-degree view of your customer in ActiveNet. Great multitasking tools that are available to you in ActiveNet. Again, at your recreation centers, it's going to improve your ability to reduce the time that you have to get people to sit there and wait or queue up to speak to an attendant. The ability to multitask will make that a much more streamlined process. So again, a lot of customers, I should have taken a show of hands at the beginning, but I'm assuming a lot of folks in here are Class customers. We've effectively taken everything that you have in Class today and we've made it better. So again, we've talked about marketing, we've talked about social media, mobility, but there's other things that we're developing, and this is not a complete list, by the way. There are a lot of other things that we're developing in ActiveNet that take you from Class and beyond. So and donations, whether it's dashboard and analytics, these are the types of things that we're delivering to you guys that you don't have today that are going to make a real impactful change in your communities, for your users, and for your staff. So we talked a little bit about the cloud earlier. I want to just highlight real quickly the first bullet point, which is around Canadian. We have made tens of millions of dollars of investments in data centers in Canada. Okay, very important. not only have we served the Canadian customer base for so long and the Ontario customer base, one thing it gives us is insight into how important data and Canadian customer data is to every single one of you and your customers. So we've invested in a Toronto data center. It's a tier 4 data center and a secondary backup data center in Kelowna, British Columbia. Full disaster recovery, top of the line data centers, the same data centers that we have folks like eBay and Google and others using. And what I want to stress is, it's keeping your customer data secure, but it's also going with a vendor like us who have made a big investment in making sure that data is secure moving forward. The second thing is that it's a web-based solution. Again, we touched on it a little bit, but let's kind of drill into that a bit. Web-based means a lot of things. One, accessibility, right? So there's no reason today, in fact, you can do this. You can take a tablet, you can load up your staff interface on a tablet and walk out into the field and start doing your business in the field. Now, I think back to my local rec center in Oakville, which is Glen Abbey. I mean, there's a young gal or guy who sits there just outside the fitness room. And I think to myself, well, if they had a tablet, they could walk out of that fitness, behind that desk, into the fitness room and engage with the members. Hey, how are you enjoying our service today? Would you like to renew your membership? I see it's going to be up in a month. And that's a conversation that you can now start to have with your community, okay? Immediate. What does immediate mean? Well, immediate means that we are delivering all of the updates in the cloud seamlessly to you, right? So today, a lot of you are class customers, and I've done this. I've done upgrades for a lot of you guys. It takes a lot of time, right? I have to do a test upgrade. I have to do a secondary database. I have to make sure it works. I have to run the scripts. I have to run the utility. I have to install that on every PC. And it's not trivial. I mean, IT will tell you it's sometimes a 6-month project. It diverts a lot of resources, and it's a big headache, right? We've taken that out of the equation altogether. So immediate means we deliver updates and upgrades seamlessly in the cloud to you in real time without any downtime whatsoever. You get an opportunity a couple of weeks ahead to play with the new functionality, but for all intents and purposes, it's seamless and it gives you the very best in technology all the time without having to wait for, should I upgrade here or should I upgrade next year? That's no longer a decision that you need to think about. Scalable. Look, we have a lot of big organizations, right? Whether it's the City of Toronto, City of London, City of Brampton, Mississauga, and so on. We've battle-tested ActiveNet with some large organizations. In a real-world setting, one of our customers ran 2,500 simultaneous transactions through ActiveNet with no problem. In a testing environment, we've taken that way beyond 2,500. So again, from a scale standpoint, you want to partner with a vendor that's going to give you the type of scale that your organizations are in need of, or the types of traffic that you guys are going to expect. PCI compliance, again, really important point, right? Because it's not trivial. Like I remember back in 2002, I was the first install of payment server was one that I did for the town of Tilsonburg, right? And I know all the work that went into developing payment server, all the conversations that we had with Canadian banks that we continue to have to this day around compliance. Interact debit is another one, right? It's not trivial. There's a lot of work that we've invested over the years to make that a process within our organization, and you guys will reap the benefits of that. So again, we're a PCI compliant level 1 certified processor with point-to-point encryption. PCI is effectively out of the equation for you guys because everything will happen in the cloud in a PCI level 1 setting. Cost effective, again, there's no restriction on user licenses, right? Today, you want to maybe, I don't know, you got a big event coming up and you need 20 new class licenses or something like that. You have to call up your account manager. You have to get a purchase order in place. Look, that's not an issue here. There are no license restrictions and no user restrictions whatsoever. It's a cloud-based solution. You can use it to your heart's content. You turn on a browser, it's right there for you. So don't ever think about licensing ever again. And then finally, it's secure. We'll get to that in the next slide and we'll start talking about data centers. So again, we talked about our Canadian data centers. Again, level 1 certified payment processor, SSAE 16 compliance. And again, we've invested a lot in making some really world-class investments in some world-class data centers. sorry, yeah.
Just not, we're wicked.
So what's coming next? We talked a little bit about dashboard and analytics. One of the things that I think Daryl and Juanita from Brampton kind of talked about was taking data and benchmarking yourselves against other communities, right? So Brampton and Oakville want to know how they're doing things. They want to benchmark against one another to say, okay, so you're doing a really good job here. We're not doing such a good job based on what the data's telling me. How do we share best practices, right? How do we improve as a business? How do we meet Ontario mandates around reporting and benchmarking? The analytics tools that we have, number one, they're all in the cloud. So if everyone here today was an ActiveNet customer in the cloud, every single one of you could benchmark yourselves against each other, right? Which is fantastic. Imagine that from a provincial standpoint. The City of London can now go to the town of Oakville and say, how am I faring? How are my programs doing? Am I doing the right things? Can I learn from what someone else is doing in terms of improving their fill rates, their participation rates, or maybe their retention rates? Okay? Those are the conversations you can start having. So again, we talked about this, insights improve participation. It all comes back to participation. That's where we started this presentation, right? If I give you insights into your business and they're meaningful and they're impactful, you can increase participation, you can increase wellness within your community, you can increase community engagement, you can make your communities better places to live and recreate. Stay connected. Again, so we talked about insights and then we also talked about social and mobile. Look, it's really important. Like, it's one thing to say thumbs up and like on a Facebook page. I mean, that's pretty easy. Everyone can do that, right? It's another thing to make that an integrated piece of your technology. So we've made investments from a Facebook standpoint to say, look, when you register for a class, it's not just about liking something. It's about putting that on your timeline. It's about communicating to your network about the program that you just signed up for at the City of Brampton or wherever, and then getting your network engaged and having them link back to your site to register for that program as well. It's about building demand, generating demand within your community for the programs you guys offer. So mobile, I think these stats are stats that you guys have probably seen in any number of presentations, but look, most people are using smartphones. I can tell you for a fact, when I go to bed at night, I'm usually under the covers with my smartphone, just so it doesn't, the glare doesn't go in my wife's eyes, right? So I mean, that's how addicted we are to phones, right? Now, the reality is, if we're that addicted, why don't we deliver services on mobile devices, right? And that's where Active's headed, and that's what Active's already done from the standpoint of activity registration. So if we go to the next slide, this is actually a screenshot, and I did have a bunch of others, but in the interest of time, I've taken those out. But you guys are more than welcome to go to sorginshores.ca. That's a class customer just up on the Bruce Peninsula who recently went from class to ActiveNet. And they're now delivering services here and allowing people to register from their mobile device in real time. Okay? So we've taken that experience that we gave you guys in the late 90s, and now we've taken it to the next level, which is true mobile registration. Marketing. Marketing means a lot of things to a lot of people, right? So a lot of people, it's a big headache, right? It really is. Whether it's maintaining second lists on a separate system, whether it's working with constant contact, whether it's trying to figure out who opted in and who opted out and doing a manual, everything's manually maintained in a spreadsheet, and then trying to get IT to run a job for you. And, it gets really kind of a lot of spaghetti that kind of gets stuck in there. What we've done from a marketing standpoint is we've bundled the marketing solution within ActiveNet. Okay? So what that means is we create dynamic lists within your solution. We allow you to automate jobs out. We give you all the statistics and the reporting on those emails, right? So if you want to know how many bounce backs, how many opens, how many received, how many didn't get to their destination, and so on, you can do that today through ActiveNet. Okay? What that does is effectively gives you, for all intents and purposes, constant contact embedded within ActiveNet.
I think the only other thing I'd throw in here is we kind of talk about marketing, and we're going to send emails and stuff. Part of Active being designed from the web backwards and being centered around the participant is, it's not just, there's tool sets, there's whole libraries that we offer, but the design and develop, everything's, the participant's driving the design and development. And what I mean by that is the first thing for somebody to participate is they have to find you. So what we've started doing is actually building in all the SEO capabilities into the front end of ActiveNet. So you don't have to worry about website optimization for search engines, all that kind of science and best practices, because we've got 40,000 customers, and the majority of Active's customer base are all web registration. So we're taking all that, we have a team of 50 people that are just focused on SEO, how to design better websites for a great experience from the consumer, but how the consumer finds you, and when they're on your website, how they actually work through your website to convert into a registration. There's a lot of science behind that that's all getting built in and designed into ActiveNet. And I think where the side that we come from is marrying this technology and marketing expertise, where we have a team of 50 people just focused on conversion. How do people go through a website, like heat maps on where they spend their time, and then designing the system and workflows to better utilize that. There's another team of 50 people in Active that are just focused on mobile. Like how does the technology better work on mobility? And I think that's an important distinction in the kind of resources and expertise that we're bringing to the table. It's not, hey, we're building some registration software. Yeah, it has to, table stakes are efficiency operationally from a back office perspective, but then where the real magic comes in is, on the way people are finding you and accessing your services has changed rapidly. It's all, and so I think that's an important distinction that we call marketing, but it's quite scientific when you get down into the nuts and bolts.
It was really funny. I talked to Kevin from Mississauga yesterday, and his title was business development. I mean, that's where you guys are changing as an organization and sector, is that you guys are focused on sales. So when Adam talks about conversion and knowing what the customer's doing in the cycle, you want to know when someone drops out of a shopping cart and why they dropped out. And you want to get back in touch with that person and say, hey, can we help you? Can we help you get to where you need to be, right? And that's about, whether you like it or not, you're selling. You're trying to sell a service. You're trying to get people engaged. And you're trying to make sure that at the end of the day, you're delivering a service that is impactful and meaningful for that participant. So it's a really good point. The other thing I'll say as well, and you mentioned teams of developers. I don't know if anyone knows, but we have an office of 200 people in Mississauga. Our VP of Product Development and our VP of Product and our VP of Development are both based in our Mississauga office just outside the Winston Churchill and 401. And we have a large sector of our development team for ActiveNet also based out of there as well. Okay. So one thing that you also want to do, we talked about mobile, you talk about social, you talk about SEO conversion and everything else. It kind of leads into what we're talking about here, which is delivering a beautiful experience on the web. Okay, so that's fundamentally the beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but you want to deliver something that's going to be memorable to your constituent. So we really focus on using all the expertise we have in house to ensure that we're delivering you guys really clean, crisp, beautiful websites that are functional, right? So we want to make sure that experience to get from here to checkout is as smooth and as clean and as unclunky as possible. And again, we've developed, invested a lot of time and resources to make sure that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, this is oftentimes the first impression in today's world that somebody has of your organization is your website. I know I'm like this. People are quite fickle. When you go to a website, you pull up one website, it's beautiful, it's easy to navigate through, and there's another website that's a little more clunkier, and you're like, like a storefront. And so, again, a lot of thought and effort and resources going into that part of the solution. My favorite slide.
So, a lot of people think of it as, almost the end, but it's really the beginning, right? Again, as I mentioned maybe one or two times already, we've always been at the leading edge of technology for a lot of the organizations here, and we've partnered with a lot of organizations here to build things into our solution that are leading edge, right? So this is really, we're at the beginning of that journey again, in my humble opinion. Some of the things that you guys can really look forward to with ActiveNet, we talked about mobility and big data, but we can also look forward to things like personalization, right? And you kind of touched on it a little bit, Adam, which is that whole notion of delivering a personal experience to your constituent, right? So if someone's registering for a program, I want to know about that person, I want to know their habits, and I want to use that data to start delivering effective materials to them that are going to really hit home for them and be relevant. From a big data standpoint, again, it's a term that people throw around quite a lot. We've got teams of people who are focused on big data, to deliver those types of insights that I talked about earlier for your organizations, right? So we're at the starting stage there, where we're dealing with structured data, which is the data that's already in ActiveNet. The next phase of that will be taking unstructured data. We talked about environics and things like that. Let's use demographic data. Let's overlay that stuff into those dashboards and analytics, and let's get even more meaningful insights about our communities. So there's a lot happening here, which I think is really exciting to me.
Yeah, I mean, insights, and like you guys know yourselves, you pull, like somebody asks you for a report, you pull a report, and the first thing I ask people when they're asking me for a report is, what are you going to do with it? If I give you this data, is it just, you just want me to give you this data? What are you going to do with it? And I think like so on an individual organizational level, I think we want to get the data, and then we want to figure, out of the insights that we're gleaning from that data, we want to drive action. And I think what we're in a position to go on, I think we are in a position when we're starting looking at aggregated data, not individual, but when we start rolling up this aggregate data, we get some tremendous insights. But what we want to be able to do is actually provide you with specific, actionable things that you can do right out of the gate with that data, not have a look at it, figure it out, okay, what do I do with it? We want to provide you with a set of actions that you can take based on the insights that we're gleaning out of this data, whether it's yours individually or from an aggregate level. We can turn around and go, look, here's what's happening, trending, whether it's price trends, participation trends, seasonality, whatever the case may be in a particular thing. And then we want to give you a set of actions right out of the tool set that you can enable right away and not have to think about, okay, I've got this data, what does it mean, and what do I do with it? We want to give you all that, and so you're pushing buttons to take action on the data and analytics that you're pulling out of the system. I think that's important. And then, the personalization is a big thing, because when we're talking about experiences that people are having in the websites, you're being compared to, I just bought a book on Amazon, and now I'm going to the City of X's website. I expect the same experience. I expect that personalization and you to know me and my habits. And so, all these things is kind of where we're driving for. So I think to Jazz's point, it's certainly not, hey, this is when you get to ActiveNet, it's the end. There's so much more we can do based on this technology platform that we just have been kind of shackled on based on the technology platform that served us really well. We're just moving into another generation.
Yeah, and I think also from a business relationship between Active and this community here, it's less about technology and it's more about a business relationship, right? It's about me sitting down with all of you in the room and at some point saying, what kind of insights do you guys want to drive, right? Let's get together and let's really figure that stuff out, and let's make sure the objectives that you have for your business are ones that we can meet from the analytics side, and let's help improve your businesses together. So a really important point for me personally. So with ActiveNet, you're never alone. It's from same support from people you trust. We still have the same teams in Burnaby, the same delivery teams out there. I'm based in Oakville. I've been with the company for 13 years. Adam's been with Active 1 month less than me. So look, we're the same folks. We're the same folks on the phone. We've developed a lot of trust and a lot of capital over the years with you guys, and we really appreciate this relationship. And so we hope that this is something that again we're embarking on a new journey and one that's going to be a lot of fun for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's like there's we have the benefit of all the knowledge and expertise that we put into class that we can take into this platform, which is done now from a development perspective. But the other side is all the people that are either supporting or implementing these new projects know those systems. Like we're building tools specifically to join the two, and they're if there's an implementation consultant coming on site, they're really well versed in class and they're really well versed in ActiveNet, so that it's the kind of lesson that it's a jump, it's an effort to upgrade, but having that knowledge in kind of both camps helps kind of streamline it. We can develop a bunch of tools, but the people part helps as well.
Just maybe a final point on that. The fact that Active resources know ActiveNet and they know class, and the fact that they're both our solutions means that the transition and the upgrade from class to ActiveNet is pretty straightforward from a data transfer standpoint and things of that nature. I mean, if you guys want to transfer all the data you have, in some cases you want to take a second look and say, what have we been doing for the last 10 years? But I want to make the point, at least from a in terms of what we know, knowledge that we have in-house, but also the tools that we have to convert that data and bring it over into ActiveNet very quickly and efficiently. Again, you're partnering with an organization that knows both solutions really well. Thanks for your time. Do we have time for questions at all, Darryl?
No, we have about a minute and a half, so I'll close, and unless you want a final remark.
No, that's it. Yeah, no, I mean, We're going to be in the booth today from 11:30 to 2:30. I apologize I didn't have enough time for questions, but feel free to come by and visit, and if you've got any questions, feel free to ask. Jessica from Sorgin Shores will be there at 11:30, and she's just going to do a quick walkthrough of some of the marketing tools that she's been using within ActiveNet and how she's helped drive participation at Sorgin Shores over the last few months.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.